Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for being here. This has been a bit of a weird month on my budget channel because I didn't put a budget out last month. I do have a little video explaining that. I was waiting on some banking stuff. I've now made some progress with the banking stuff and I thought I'd come back and update you and we could look at the budget. It's in such a mess, you guys. But we can maybe look at the budget and see what I'm doing. It's not really a budget setup because I suppose we're at about check-in time, but a lot went on, basically. So because this is the money channel, let's first update you about the bank. I know there's a small select number of you quite invested in what the hell's going on with my bank. So basically I had all that trouble, and then for anyone new to the channel, I'm not going to go through all the details, but I'm trying to close a credit card. And my particular bank in this country, Oman in the Middle East, makes it difficult. According to their terms of service, you have to pay 60 Riyal a year to keep the card open. I'm not interested in doing that. I was brought onto the card when my bank merged with their bank. I didn't choose the card. And when I called to cancel it, I was told, you have to pay 25 Riyal fee, and we will put a hold on the card for the whole amount. When I checked the terms of service, it's actually the whole amount, so 100% of the card or 150% of the card, like that scale between 100 and 150% is put on hold for potential purchases you could have made from my debit account while they go through the process of closing, which is 45 working days. So once you count in weekends, 2 months holding on to a fair chunk of my money. Now this had a bit of a knock-on effect because I had to save that money because I didn't have enough, which meant I waited a couple of months before I could actually go in and close the account. And I was trying to get the credit limit lowered to lower the hold. And after 5 weeks of trying to do that, someone finally told me, oh no, even though we've told you multiple times we can do that and we are doing that, you can't, and you have to open another card at a lower limit, which means you'd still have to go through the closing procedure of this one. So all that went on. I then finally was like, forget it. I'll have the hold. I kept all my money. I hadn't sent it home. Last month I sent home, I think about 1,000, the equivalent of £1,000, which is about 500 Riyal. I was planning on sending that much home again this month, but with everything going on, I just wanted to see what was going to happen with the bank before I did. Okay, so a bit of backstory, a road so far, whatever. I went into the bank on my holiday last week. I had a week off and I was like, okay, at least I can go in when I need to. And they said, okay, we can close the account. We have to email head office to get permission to close this account. That's going to take a day or two, so you're going to have to come back. Okay. She gave me her direct number, like her desk number, in the branch though, so I didn't have to call the helpline. And I was like, all right, inshallah. And after 2 days I called and she was like, yeah, no, I'll send them a reminder. And then for the rest of that week, they did not pick up their phone when I called them. They were just like, eh. So I had no answer and I went back to work. On Sunday, my first working day, the working week is Sunday to Thursday here, I get a call in the middle of my math lesson as I'm trying to teach saying, hi there, we've just gotten permission, you can come in now. I'm at work. The banks here are open from 8 till 2, which is during my working hours. I do not have any hours at which the bank is open when I am not at work. So that means that I have to arrange with my line manager to take time off work. Now, fortunately, I have 1 day in my schedule. Usually my non-contact periods are either morning or first thing in the morning or last thing afternoon. I have 1 day in our schedule where I have time off right after lunch. And so I say, rather than having to cover multiple lessons, if I go during that time, there's only one potential lesson you'll have to cover. She agrees to, she's really nice. And I leave the lesson plans and I go. The taxi drops me at the wrong branch, which is awesome. It's very close to the original branch, so I'm just confused because it was only the first time I'd ever been to that branch before. It's a few streets down. I'm trying to follow the map. It's not working. I know they close at 2 and I'm just like, oh God. But I eventually get there. And here's the thing, you know when something goes right, but you're waiting for the other shoe to drop? Because I don't trust that bank as far as I can throw them. And even though it's not a bad result, I'm still quite irritated about it because all the frustration we could have avoided. So I feel a bit bad complaining about something going right, but man, they made it hard. I went in, she's closed the account. It's not off my internet banking yet. But anyway, sorry, getting ahead of myself. The first time I went in, I asked how much it would cost because I was trying to figure out if I could send some money home or if I should just wait. And she said to me, and this is what I wasn't sure about, she had said, well, you never activated the card and therefore you can't have spent on it. So we don't need to put the hold on your account. And this was the first time I had heard this, and you know the trouble I'd been through. I was like, on one hand, I'm very happy not to give them my money. On the other, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Waited 2 months saving this money because you told me, are you kidding me? And like other people have had this hold put on because it's in their terms of service, but I'm guessing because people got kind of brought in from when HSBC closed, I'm guessing they've made exceptions, but now it's been a little while longer. Sorry. I'm guessing there are exceptions in place now, I should say. Because it's been a bit of a while longer and they have had to deal with a lot of people leaving. But I know people who've had that hold put on their cards. So I'm guessing at the very beginning where tons of people were leaving, they were just going by the book and then they were like, this isn't working. I don't know exactly what happened. I know some people have had holds put on their card. I did hear that the 25 Rial fee for closing the account, 25 Rials, about £50, was being waived for ex-HSBC customers, so I was hoping not to pay that. But she didn't charge me anything. She didn't charge me to close it, and she didn't put a hold on my account. I do not trust this. Really? I checked with her a couple of times and she said no. She took my card, she destroyed my card. I saw the destroyed part. And nothing's been put on hold on my card, so I waited a day or two to see, and then I've just sent the money home. So the money's not there for them to take anymore. And it means that the money has now arrived to my bank account in the UK. So I can start doing all the things I should have done with my budget, which we're going to talk about because my whole budget sheet just looks like a mess right now because that's how the last 2 months have been. I've been on bare minimum because I've been sending home, like last month I only sent home a bit, this month I didn't send home anything. But once I realized that the money wasn't going to be held, I sent home like the equivalent of £3,600. And that was in my account this morning and I've now sent all my payments. So I don't want to jinx myself, but fingers crossed this part of the equation, assuming the account does close down and it's all done, this part of the equation now seems to be done. Took a couple of months, a lot of frustration, unnecessary frustration apparently, and many bank visits, but apparently this part is done. Now I do need to go visit the bank again for 2 reasons. I need to make one visit in a week or two when the whole account gets cleared, and either I've got to call them or they're going to call me. I will call them. I will always call them. And then I can get my letter saying the account has been closed down, I owe nothing, the no objection certificate. I can give that to my HR at school, and then they will have permission to pay my salary into my new bank account, which is already set up. So that's the first step. It's going to require another visit. I've tentatively arranged with my line manager to do the same thing I did yesterday, because that'll fit my schedule whenever I get the go ahead to do it. I'm not going to assume this week, so I may end up doing it next week. But when I get the go ahead, I'll do that. She'll cover the same lesson. I'm hoping, because it won't be as long, because it'll all be shut, they're just printing something off for me, that I'll be able to get in and out and I won't actually miss school. It'll just be in my free period. I'm hoping. My free period isn't free, it's non-contact, but I'll work around it. Once that is done, I then can go in and close down my debit account. I don't want to do that until I've had my first salary into my other account, so I can be sure there's no problems there. And then I will go in and close it. But I don't want to miss more days off schools because, like, I don't want to mess them around. I'm just trying to do my job here. So fortunately for me, because Christmas is not a thing here, when we go for winter break, I can go into the bank and I can do it when I'm free. Because if I'm just closing it, it shouldn't take too many visits. Not look, because who knows at this point. There were a lot of things that should have been simpler than they were here. But I guess tentatively it's good news. So there we go. I'm happy about it, and I'm also somewhat enraged about it. If you know that balance, I'm going to try and chill myself out. I've sent the money home, which has done wonders for my mood. I do any of you guys play video games? I play Disney Dreamlight Valley, and there is a live stream tonight on YouTube about the new update that's coming in a month's time, like a downloadable content thing. So it's like a paid DLC. People are a bit angry about it being paid. I'm not thrilled about it because they were going to go free to play, but I think there's a balance, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, I'm going to watch it. That'll be very exciting. I've got a key for alpha access for a game that I did a Kickstarter for I didn't do a Kickstarter, I paid a Kickstarter for last year. Puff Pals, it's like Island Sky. It was when I was really into Animal Crossing and I was looking for a new similar thing. They're finally releasing an alpha access of that. So I've got that key and I'm going to try that today if I can get my marking done, because we have grades due next week. So I'm just going to try and do a little bit of my marking and then move on over and have the stream going. So lots of exciting and happy plans for the for the evening. And then I can maybe let go of the trauma a little bit. So good news overall on the bank, assuming it worked, which is a big assumption. Don't assume anything till you're dead, you know? We're going to have a very quick look at my budget, because my budget likely is not going to make a huge amount of sense to anyone but me. So it's going to need explaining. I'll go very quickly through the local side and then we'll just talk about why my savings side looks like that. Okay, so let's just get into this. Okay, we're just going to run through these numbers. Some of them will not make sense because, for example, I did have I planned to send home 509 Real, and then I didn't end up doing it, like I told you before. So I just kept hold of it until I knew what was going on. Fixed bills did not change, hence the name Fixed. So home internet, electricity, cleaner, phone. I did put money towards my phone this month, which I don't do every month, but they were all as expected. I did end up putting my usual expenses for variable. We've got groceries, transport, school, beauty, health, missed home, spending, clothing, and then I had the 1,250 for the credit card hold that didn't end up happening. So as you can see from the red here, I did end up spending more on clothing. So part of this was planned and part of it was not. I initially wanted to get some clothes this month and I did spend the 25 I usually put towards it on clothes. And then I realized that I needed a few other things. I've been needing a new pair of Skechers for a while. I'm on my feet all day as a teacher, and so every 3-4 months they wear through and I have to get some new ones. And my local supermarket was actually having a sale. They have home and clothing and stuff up above. And they had some Skechers. Instead of the usual 33-ish they were down to 11. So $11.99 I think. So I ended up buying a pair of those, which was basically 12 Real I hadn't expected to pay. And also we have a couple of parents things happening at school, and I needed an outfit for that. I needed a blazer, a professional meet the people outfit. And my other one is too big now, and I tried the blazer on and I looked like an 8-year-old dressing up in a father's wardrobe. So I bought a blazer, which was wasn't exactly what I wanted and was a little bit pricey, but it will do the job for any school event for me in the future. And I ended up getting a skirt. I already had a top for it. So that was a little bit more than I expected. And I also treated myself to that owl jumper. Which I didn't need, but my heart needed. So I overspent on clothing a little bit. I probably should have planned a little bit better for it, but never mind. Aside from that, the only thing that was high this month really was transport. I don't usually get that close to the top of the budget, but because I was going back and forth from the bank more and it was a little far away, I ended up spending a little bit more. I did cut Miss Home out of the budget in an attempt to kind of reallocate money, hoping that I wouldn't have to add more money to the clothing, but in the end I did. But as I said, the credit card hold didn't end up happening, so that was something. So then we move over to the mess that is my savings in my home country. So this is a bit complicated, let me explain it. Initially, I had intended to send just over 500 Rial home, which would have been £1,000. I always project about 300 for YouTube, and then because I'd like to do like the base minimum, and then if I end up earning more, great, but I don't rely on it. So that would have given me about 1,350 for the month to work with. It doesn't come in at exactly the same time. I am considering changing my budget up so it's in two parts, a bit like people do dual paychecks, because I know in America it's very common to get paid every 2 weeks, so that I can do a budget with my actual paycheck and then with the YouTube one later. But I'm just not quite sure if it's worth it. But anyway, not the point today. I ended up not sending any of that home and then trying to make my priority payments, if we go to fixed bills, are paying into my pension and putting money towards my future. So even if nothing else happens, I really want to make those two payments, and that required 1,350, so it should have worked out, except I didn't send the money home because both those things are invested. But the point of me sending it every month and putting it in every month is, number one, the dollar cost averaging means on the inevitable months where I don't get that great a buy, on months like this where everything's a good price, I can balance it out. And if I'm saving it up and then spending a huge amount, I lose that advantage. But I didn't send home £1,000, so I had to figure something out to do. And what I ended up doing was I went down to my travel fund because I thought everything was going to be on hold, I wasn't going to travel. And I decided to take some money out of that sinking fund that I didn't need immediately and to just put it into my pension to cover the payment. And then once I did manage to send some money home, because I was expecting to send the 500 Rial once all the bank stuff had been settled, it was just there as a safety net, then I would just refill my travel sinking fund and that would be all I would do this month. That's not how it turned out because I ended up not having that hold put on. So after I had done that, yesterday I sent the money home, the big chunk, which ended up being 3,600. That's why the income says that. Now, for additional income, just because I wanted the numbers to work out, I've got 517 from YouTube, and I've got the 845 that I transferred from savings. I'm counting that as income so the numbers match up. So that basically put me at 4,962 for income, even though technically I was kind of paying myself with the stuff out of the travel fund. But because I wanted to then return it, I had to count it. So when we look at my savings side, anything in yellow is what I did after I got that big chunk of money. So the emergency fund, I've been wanting to beef up and I ended up putting 800 in. So I've got a balance of 4,000 in there right now, which feels pretty good. I don't have any other spending due this time around. I will have some other spending next month, but we'll talk about it then. But in my fixed bills, I have my YouTube Premium and the subscription I pay, which is £5 total, and then my private pension and my future. I had already made those payments, and because I had some extra money, I allocated some extra money to those payments as well. So I put 300 extra into my pension, and I put 500 extra into my future fund. Now, I realized as I was calculating my other account, my sinking funds account, that I had an extra £400 in there, and I was trying to figure out what I did, and the 400 rings a bell. I think it might have been left over from the travel fund when I went to Greece, and I had kind of earmarked it as a different payment and then hadn't ended up sending it because I hadn't decided exactly where I wanted it to go. And once I send it into like my pension or my future fund, it gets invested and then it's harder to take out. So I just wanted to leave it in cash for the moment. I'm not entirely sure what my intentions were with it, but it was still there and I had miscounted. I've checked all the totals over all my accounts, and the numbers I have now are correct. correct, but I've just had to adjust, and I've looked at how the money was allocated and what have you. My numbers now are correct, but it might not match what I had in last month if any of you are watching that closely, so excuse me. So the travel fund, I had taken 845 out. I'd had 1,300 in there. So I returned the 845, but when I reallocated some things and moved them around, I've actually got 100 less in there now than I did before. I know that might not make sense to you guys, but it does with the other numbers. And it was because I decided with this lump sum, I'd rather just have all my taxes put away and then know that it's done. And then next month and for the next few months, because I don't need my taxes until April, any money I was going to allocate to taxes, I can just allocate somewhere else. So I adjusted some of the numbers so that I could have 2,000 in my tax fund. So I put an extra 800 in there, and then I readjusted 200 from elsewhere. In my home and tech fund, I've been wanting to put that back up to 300 because I was low. So I've put an extra 100 in there. It's got 300 now. I would like to build it up a bit more so I can make purchases, but it's not urgent at the moment. My medical has been on something in 50 for ages. I just threw 50 quid in it so it could be a nice round 100. Gifts and Christmas. I had bought a couple of birthday gifts, a few birthday gifts in fact, for the twins and for my mom last month. And so that fund was a little bit low. And because Christmas is coming up, I did want to beef it up a little bit. So I put the £52 back that I had spent in October. And then I put in an extra 100, so there's 400 in there now because, man, it is November. I got to start actually buying presents this year, man. It's gone so fast. And then because I happen to have like a 50 in there, I put an extra 50 in here. I'm now covered when I have to buy my next set of wigs. So these numbers will not exactly match everything I had last month. Apologies. But when I count it up, the totals that I should have in the accounts now make sense. So that's where we are with all of that. I'm feeling quite pleased because I don't have to put 200 to tax anymore. I might build up travel. I still don't think I will travel at Christmas, even though I'd originally cancelled the plans because of the bank stuff. I didn't think I'd have the money, but now I've kind of made peace with it. I might just wait and do a bigger trip next summer. Because I can't believe how much more expensive travel has gotten in the last few years, but it's been insane since COVID. So I'm just going to wait it out and then be able to afford a trip without worrying about it and like stock up on things and stuff like that. So we'll just wait. I'm particularly pleased about the emergency fund this month because I had been sort of lackluster with it because other priorities had come up. So I said, okay, I won't put more in the emergency, but I've been wanting to beef it up. Eventually I want 10,000 in there. And I've also been working quite hard, just kind of squirreling away anything extra into the future fund. So I want to try and keep building that as much as I can, which will be a little easier now that tax is taken care of. Okay, everybody, and that's where we are. I did spend a little bit of time yesterday looking through the goals I had at the beginning of the year because in the next month or two, I want to do a reflection as the year draws to a close. I want to do a reflection on if I met my financial goals and things. And so it was interesting to look back. I'm not too displeased about it, to be honest, but we'll get into that at a later time. Just remember, if you are doing things with your finances, you've still got time this year. Don't leave it. Just keep going. And yeah, I will see you probably in a couple of weeks for my November update. Okay, everybody, thank you so much. And I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.